Hi everyone, I'm Garth. This is Garth's Garage. Come inside, let's go have a chat. The worst crash I've been involved in was Phillip Island. It was 1999. The track was drying out. There was a dry line, but it was wet offline. The grass was all wet. And I just got a little nudge. It was actually Jason Bright. We're going up into the hay shed at Phillip Island. It's about 215, 220k an hour. And just got a little nudge from Brighty, and I just got off onto the grass. There was nothing in the nudge. It was just a racing thing. And I was off into the grass, and the car left the track at 198 kilometres an hour. And I was about 75 metres to the wall, and the car actually accelerated, even though I had my foot buried in the brake pedal, accelerated up to 207 kilometres an hour, and it hit the earth bank, and had my foot jammed in the brake pedal, and because I was so jammed in the brake pedal, I had so much pressure in my brake pedal, when I hit the wall, it actually bounced up into the steering column. It was an old VS Commodore, and it actually relocated my kneecap, and I was on crutches pretty much straight away after that for 3 weeks. But we were racing at Hidden Valley in 2 weeks after that, so I was on crutches to the car, the old motorbike guy, throw the crutches away, drive the race car, get back on crutches afterwards. So that was the biggest crash. It was the first massive crash I've had in a supercar. It shook me up a little bit, but I was back in the car 2 weeks later. I look for an everyday driver when you can either see an accident coming or a crash coming, or I mean, the biggest thing is obviously avoid the accident, and the best way to do that is keep your vision up. It's funny, on the road you can see stuff happening so much earlier than it actually does happen with regular drivers, because you just got to keep your vision up and look at what everyone else is doing. But if you feel like there's a crash coming, the biggest thing is, and the hardest thing to do, is actually relax. You got to think like a cat. You know, when a cat jumps off the roof, when it lands, it's all soft and gentle. If you tense up before a crash, and we have to do the same in the race car, you got to try not to tense up, because all your muscles are all tense, everything's tense, and that's when you're likely to get injured from the actual impact. So try and relax. It's easier to say than to do. I remember way back to my very first crash. It was in Formula Ford. It was my third or fourth race meeting, and you know, we're hustling. We're thinking it's the World Championships, racing back in Perth, and had a crash and did a bit of damage to the race car. And it wasn't a big crash. Actually, I was holding on as tight as I could. I was in the brake pedal, doing everything wrong you should be doing in the cockpit. But the biggest thing, I wasn't so worried about the crashed car, because we could fix that. I was more worried about seeing my dad afterwards, because I knew it was going to cost a lot of money and he had to pay for it. So I was more worried about getting into trouble than for my dad for spending money than for crashing the race car. Oh, look, the toughest circuit we race on is definitely Bathurst. I mean, it's the most challenging as far as getting lap time out of the race car. It's the most challenging as far as positioning the car, because there's so many blind crests, there's so many, you run so close to the wall in so many parts of the track where there's very, very high speed. So it's not a physically demanding circuit, because you actually get quite a rest going down Conrod and up Mountain Straight, because they're big long straights, you can relax a little bit. And the run across the top of the mountain, it's more about the concentration. So from a fatigue point of view, you're more mentally fatigued at the end of Bathurst than you are physically fatigued, simply because of the concentration. Because if you make a mistake at Bathurst across the top, you are going to crash. Hope you enjoyed that. Thanks very much for watching Garth's Garage, brought to you by Valvoline. We'll see you again soon.